Africa, we are tired of hearing you complaining that the government you chose is the fault of most of the problems in the continent. The problem is you. Join me in the talk for today. Thank you for joining my channel. Yes, joy comes in the morning. Yes, I'm here with you to discuss with you a very important topic, a very needed one in our continent, Africa. And I am here on the behalf of the diaspora, looking actually outside the box. You know, when you're in the box, you hardly see what happens in the box. And my part as a diaspora who left the country almost 19 years ago, and I'm really happy to be able to see my continent from the outside and seeing what exactly is in the box. As much as people in the box look outside to the Western world, we should also be start thinking what is happening in the continent. And how best do you need to know this? You need to get out of the box. And that's why I'm here with you, to be sharing with you what I see in the box. And I'm so delighted to bring this topic where I mentioned very clearly. And the first question, as I said, we need to ask, who chose the government people in the government? Yes, it's us. You and I, or you people on the continent, you choose the people in the government. So when we start pointing finger at them, we should be asking ourselves, what the processes that went into it to appoint the people in the government. You woke up one day and you went to vote, and before that you were informed what is happening in the continent and what is needed to be done. So it's your role as a person to find out what kind of person do you need in the government, in the system, right? So you're the person, let's get that straight, because it's important to get to the straight to the point that we chose, you and I chose the people in the positions that are there right now. And the second question we should be asking ourselves is, why do you think they have failed us? Why do you think they have failed us? Is it us who didn't choose the right people who are qualified to be in these positions? And the third one is, what can we do to make sure that we get the right people that does our job? And I'll be giving you my views on this, because I'm going to give you this, my opinion as a diaspora. As I told you before, I'm looking at it at a different angle, other people in the ground. We need to find how are we going to solve the problems. And I believe the best way to do this is going back to the ground, going to you and I, the people who really choose the people. The first question I put here, who chooses the government people? So we need to have a conversation with the people who choose the government people, who are leading you, who are your leaders, making decisions for you and putting you forward. What do you want from them? Let's first of all find out, how are the people? How are the people? And my idea until now, and I'm going to talk it in general and as well into talking into one particular country as well, which I think is the same issues everywhere else, is about the people. How is your mindset? How is your mindset? How are our people mindset in the ground, right? Because I believe we don't need other people to come and solve our problems, okay? We put so much effort on our government. We chose the people we chose there. Do we really need to do the nitty-gritty that you could and I could do on the ground, and also show that we can already do something already on the ground? So your mindset is that don't wait for others people. So you point the finger to the government. How is your mindset? They have their roles. They have been educated to do a particular role to help you to achieve bigger roles. They are responsible of the infrastructure, fine. They're responsible of so many other things that they need to have in place. But We don't need to point fingers on others as much as we do in the Western world, waiting for other people to come and solve our problems. The mindset has to change, because even here in Western world, they have their own problems. They don't wait anybody else to come and solve their problems. They take the roles, they find a problem in their situation, and it's actually tailored very small into the wherever you are, in the small counties where you are, wherever villages you are in. Your problems, you can solve them on your own. Stop waiting for others to solve your problem. That's the mindset we have to change if we need the right people up there in the government. And we stop pointing at others to do something. I'll give you an example. In my own country, when somebody has to go somewhere else, or need to an education or money to contribute to pay the hospital bill, we all work together and put up money to pay a particular commitment, for example, the hospital bill, and we call it like Harambe. We put together, and everybody, Kenya shillings or Naira or whatever currency you are in your country, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, and that problem is solved. This is the kind of mindset we need to build up also in the small issues that we have in the village. Right now, it's raining. I'll give you an example. At the moment, Africa is raining very heavily right now, okay? And there's a lot of water destroying villages, and everybody is pointing the government, head them, and they should build the dam, they should build the bridges, they should do this. No, mindset again. We need to think who should be solving our problems, not others. You can solve the problem in your own village. How? The same way you went to get the money to pay somebody bills, you can also put one little coin here and another little coin within yourselves and build whatever you want. Let me give you an example here in Europe. They want to build a road, find the government or whoever given a contract to do the job on the road, and we pay for it as we cross that road or the bridges. Yeah, why can't you people change your mindset and get the money, or get somebody who are personal? We don't need to point at the government. There are different people who can do these jobs, right? And let them build the roads and stay at the bridge, for example, bridge. Yeah, get people pay 1 cent, whatever little money, Kenya shillings or Naira or whatever currency your country is, and get them pay. That's how it happens here in diaspora. And we pay back the money until the bridge is paid off. And then all of a sudden it's free for everyone. You don't need to put a big amount of money, but at the end of the day, you can solve the problem. I hope you get my point where I'm coming to. Your mindset is very important. How you solve your problems. Don't wait for others to solve them. So stop pointing at the government. That's one thing I want to make it clear. The second point, how we can solve these problems of blaming the government to do other things, is also educating ourselves. Yes, we need to educate ourselves. And I don't mean that in every county, every person, the energy we use, yeah, the discussions we are having with our own people, it doesn't have to be all the time you're talking about politics. Everybody could have even a degree in politics if you go to Africa. Everybody knows how the government should run. I don't even know how people get this time for, right? Let's educate ourselves. What do we need to know first about our people? Do they need to have a special qualification? I'm going to compare it as well as here in Europe as much as in Africa. It's because these people who are in the government, they are actually selected and they are educated right from the beginning to the end to be doing what they're doing. You can't come up from just anywhere and come up and say, okay, we're going to raise you up because you can talk. Because sometimes the person who can shout louder and convince others louder or has more money is the person who wins in Africa. So that's not the way it works. Let's educate for ourselves. Who should we be voting to go and get these votes and putting them forward? Do they have the knowledge? Do they have the education they needed? And if they did, find out whether it's real, because sometimes it can be very fake, right? You can trace these things right from the beginning. Let's find the right people and educate ourselves. That's the point number 2. And the last one is the one that's very important, I find. We should spend less time discussions, small talks, the village time you meet people on the street there, or on the children in the schools, everybody, as I mentioned earlier, they're just talking too much politics. Let me tell you, we don't do that here, right, in Europe. You don't spend so much. We sit down and talk about a business structure or how to develop ourselves. Spend less time talking politics, my dear African people. I mean, I go back home, and everyone is talking about politics. And there are two things I have to mention, just not only politics, but some people take advantage of these two things. There is the political part, and the religion part, which has been misused, the religion part, where you find people who are in religion are talking about politics, and the politics people are talking about in the religion. These two don't mix in the Western world. No. These are two separate entities that they don't mix, and they shouldn't mix, because it's a conflict of interests, right? You'll be winning people with the word of God and misusing the word of God, and that's what we are seeing quite often happening in the continent. As soon as you say a word of God, oh, he's a good person, you just need to mention it. Anybody can mention it, right? But the intention are not right. So spend less time in politics, please. Spend more time in building yourselves. This, even if you go to schools, you find some schools they're talking about how students, young kids study from where they can even tell you how the president should look at the minister of this and the that. It's good for education, but there's time they spend talking these small talks. You should be using that to learn something new in the school. Help another student to your classmates instead of talking about politics. And the small talks of the villagers who are sitting in the village. Sitting down in the village, drinking your beers and whatever you do in the day. Think about how to build that bridge that is needed in your village and how you can get to that point. Let's get out of sitting down and talking politics. It's not fashion anymore. Even here in Europe, I don't see people sitting down talking about the government going this and that and da. You do, but it's not the daily discussions that you would get everywhere you go. It's not. There's no way of communicating in Africa, especially to be seen that you know something, and it's only those people who speak politics. Let's change those topics to build yourself. Find topics that build yourself as well, not just talking about other things that doesn't help the continent, doesn't help the people. And that's why we are finding ourselves, since everybody knows about how the government is run and what has gone wrong. Can you imagine that energy put in the projects that you're waiting for the government to do? How much changes you need? You don't need help from anybody else. You don't need help from it. And learn from other countries. Like, I am trying to help you to get to understand what it is about. And that's what my talks are, very direct. I'm gonna be talking to you directly, making sure you get the point where I'm coming from in a diaspora concept. I have lived in the continent as well, and I go there I love Africa. Africa is a middle part of my core person, and I want us to thrive. And using the experience that we have gotten here, diaspora, and I'll be bringing up that topic as well, why you should be listening to also the diaspora. We see the topic, as I told you before, we are thinking outside the box. You're in the box, you don't see the problem. And sometimes we see much, much more than you people in the country get, in the continent get. So my question and my discussion today is to make sure that we stop blaming the government, because it's your fault. Yes. Now, when you next time think of voting somebody into the authority, think about it. Is your mindset ready for it? Is the person you're selecting educated? Right? And let them do their job. You do yours by not discussing too much politics. I hope this message reaches to you, and if you like it, subscribe to my channel, because joy comes in the morning. And also leave a comment. I want to hear what you think about my discussions